All right, so thank you to everybody. Hopefully you can see my screen just fine. And this is going to be a presentation, Cannabis Stocks, Building a Position that Won't Go Up in Smoke, presented by me, Mr. David Moadel. And just, excuse me, want to let everybody know that if you'd like more help with anything that I'll be speaking about today, you can contact me at davidmoadel@gmail.com. And you can also visit my website, davidmoadel@blogspot.com, and I'll keep those at the bottom of this screen. All right, so let's get started with cannabis stocks, building a position that won't go up in smoke. And excuse me, before I get started, please read the disclaimer carefully. Note that I am not a licensed or registered investment advisor. This is only for informational purposes. Nothing that I will say today or nothing in this presentation is investment advice. So I'll give you a moment to read that. Very important. You have to make your own decisions at all times. Do your own due diligence, for sure. All right, and I've got a question from the presenter, so I'll go ahead and go and put that in. All right, let me go ahead and close this. All right. Excuse me, my goodness. All right, we'll go ahead and get started. All right, so thank you for checking out my presentation about cannabis stocks. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about myself. My name is David Moadel. I'm an investor and trader, educator, and coach for over 20 years. Been doing this for a while. I have a master's degree in education, and I'm a former school teacher, elementary school, high school, and college level. I have a YouTube channel called Looking at the Markets. You can look it up anytime. I've got hundreds of videos there. And I am the chief analyst and researcher at Portfolio Wealth Global. Very proud to be there. And again, if you need any help, if you'd like some help, you can contact me by email at davidmoadel@gmail.com. So what are you going to learn today? Today you will learn the outlook for the cannabis sector, US and Canada, and I'm also going to mention opportunities globally. Diversifying across regions and subsectors in the cannabis space, and evaluating cannabis companies. Also, I'm going to tell you about some cannabis companies on my personal watch list. So you're going to want to pay attention to this whole video. Stick around, folks. This is going to be an hour of information that you can use, actionable. But we're going to start off with something kind of fun here. True or false? Real easy. Don't worry, I'm not grading you on this one, I promise. True or false, there are more cannabis dispensaries in Colorado than Starbucks coffee shops. What do you think? Is that true or false? I'll give you a minute to think about that one. All right, well, here it comes. The answer is that's actually true. Yes, there are more cannabis dispensaries in the state of Colorado than Starbucks coffee shops now, believe it or not. Pretty wild, and think about how far we've come. It's pretty amazing if you think about it. The saturation that's happening and the acceptance of cannabis in Colorado, in America, and in the world. Here's some cannabis facts. The cannabis market in North America will be estimated to reach as much as $47 billion throughout the next decade, the next 10 years. This number is up from the almost $10 billion that it currently stands at. Pretty staggering numbers there. The past year has seen an over 30% gain in the amount of cannabis sales in North America, and that's according to ArcView Research. And the support for legalization in America is rising. It has been rising for decades now. It's up to 65%. Amazing. Back in 1979, the support for legalizing marijuana in America was only 27%. In 2018, it was a majority, and now 65% and growing. Canada's legalizing of cannabis has added another $5 billion in sales annually. Amazing. And Uruguay legalized the adult recreational use of cannabis first, followed by Canada. So actually, Uruguay was first. So again, that support, should it be made legal or not? Over time, it's just grown and grown and grown. And look at that sharp spike since 2010. And actually since 2000, this millennium, this century has started off with a bang for cannabis stock support. And what about over in Canada? 22% of the population in Canada consumes marijuana recreationally, and 7% consume it daily. 30% of young adults consume marijuana recreationally. That's a lot of young adults. The total estimated market, nearly 40% of the population, or 12 million people, according to Deloitte research. The industry is, in collective stocks, said to be worth a whopping $30 billion. That leaves it with the capability of sales concerning cannabis-based products to reach a staggering $200 billion over the next 15 years. In the United States, cannabis sales have already hit $50 billion a year. The numbers are there. So here's an interesting fact. In 1975, the Alaska Supreme Court ruled in Raven versus State that the right to possess, cultivate, and consume small amounts of marijuana in the home was legal. So yeah, Alaska, interestingly enough, was actually a pioneer in the cannabis legalization space. Let's look at some sales estimates of recreational cannabis in Canada. In Canadian dollars, 4.6 billion sales estimated for 2019. 7.4 billion Canadian dollars in sales by 2024. That's huge. Those are estimates. And Canadian dollars, 0.5 to 1.5 billion dollars export market in 2019 estimated from Canada, exporting to nations like Germany, Italy, Finland, and the Czech Republic. Big markets over there. We're going to talk about that. Source of that information, PI Financial Corp. And yes, the grass is indeed looking greener. The projected legal and illegal sales of cannabis in the United States, check it out. In 2016, the illegal sales dwarfed the legal sales, as you can see in the chart. Estimated by 2026, it's going to be the total opposite. The illegal sales will be down to almost nothing, and the legal sales will blossom, will thrive. There will be hardly any need for a black market anymore by then. And in Canada, there's already no need for a black market because it was legalized on October 17th in Canada. And what about the Farm Bill? You might have heard about that. The Farm Bill took hemp and CBD, or cannabidiols, off of Schedule 1 classification. In December 2018, the president signed the $867 billion Farm Bill, which recharacterized hemp from a Schedule 1 drug with high potential for abuse to the lowest level listed drug, Schedule 5, which includes small doses of medicines such as codeine. It's on the same level as codeine for hemp. This allows for mass hemp production in the United States that is federally legal, and the ability to move hemp across state lines. Hemp is defined in the United States as cannabis with less than 0.3% THC content. In other words, it's not going to get you high, and we're going to talk about that. CBD, a non-psychoactive cannabinoid found in cannabis, has had a surge in popularity over the past couple of years based on its huge range of potential health benefits and uses. Huge market. Let's go into a little bit more depth on that. What is cannabidiol, or CBD? It's a cannabis compound that has significant medical benefits. Now, I'm not a doctor. I cannot say that for sure. Okay, that's from anecdotal evidence, but does not make people feel stoned. CBD may relieve pain, reduce inflammation, manage anxiety, and reduce seizures and muscle spasms. It can be taken orally, smoked, vaped, vaporized, etc. So I'm going to give you right now some actionable ideas. Going to give you 10 CBD or cannabidiol oil stocks on my watch list. And I'm going to put first the Canadian ticker symbol and then the American version if it has one. And if you just see one symbol, that means that's the American one. Okay? So my watch list is here. I've got Isodiol International Inc., ticker symbol ISOL in Canada, ISOLF in the United States. I've got Pot Network Holdings Inc. These are all CBD stocks. POTN is the ticker symbol. Zynerba Pharmaceuticals, ZYNE. Medical Marijuana Inc., MJNA. And again, this is going to go fast, so you can always email me at davidmoadel@gmail.com right here if you want more information. Tetra Biopharma, TBP in Canada, TBPMF in America. Neptune Wellness Solutions, NEPT is the ticker symbol in America. Afria, very well-known company, APH or APHQF. GW Pharmaceuticals, another well-known one. GWPH is the American ticker symbol. Cannabis Sativa Inc., CBDS, and Cannabis Science Inc., CBIS. I invite you to do your own due diligence on any or all of those and make your own decisions. Very exciting space, though. Let's talk about, speaking of very exciting, what happened last year. Huge things. 5 major milestones occurred in cannabis in 2018. First, Canada legalized cannabis for adult recreational use, as I mentioned, nationwide on October 17th. It was a huge day. Then, to follow that up, the Farm Bill in the United States was signed into law. As I mentioned previously, this legalized the hemp industry, a cousin of the cannabis plant, nationwide. Also in 2018, the U.S. Food and Drug Administration, FDA, approved Epidiolex, a cannabinoid-derived medication for use in people with 2 forms of rare epilepsy. Also, 5 cannabis companies were listed. They listed their shares for trading on major U.S. exchanges, 2 on the NASDAQ and 3 on the New York Stock Exchange. And finally, in 2018, adult use cannabis sales exceeded medicinal sales for the very first time, another milestone. So right now, as it stands, where is cannabis legal in the United States? And this is April 2019. As of right now, adult recreational marijuana is now legal in 10 U.S. states and the District of Columbia. Medical marijuana is legal in 33 states. So where is it legal? Adult recreational use for marijuana is now legal in Alaska, California, Colorado, District of Columbia, Maine, Massachusetts, Michigan, Nevada, Oregon, Vermont, and Washington. I project it's only going to get bigger in the future. Here's a map showing that from Insider Inc. Notice that the West Coast dominates here, as well as a few grouped together here, and Colorado as well. Very progressive states as far as that goes. I imagine that the United States is only going to expand and relax its policies toward medical and eventually recreational marijuana, probably sooner than people think. Here's another quiz question for you. Can you guess which state, according to percentage of the population that used marijuana in the past month, which state, according to that metric, is America's marijuana capital? Give you a moment to guess that one. All right, here we go. The answer, believe it or not, is Rhode Island. Bet you didn't guess that one correctly, huh? Yeah, a lot of people probably thought California, Colorado, Nevada maybe. Yeah, Rhode Island. According to the percent of the population using marijuana in the past month, is number 1. Pretty amazing. And so it really is not just, the point being, not just in the bigger states and the more well-known states for progressive cannabis laws. But keep in mind, before you get too excited and decide to pour all of your capital into marijuana stocks, which I don't recommend doing. Keep in mind that marijuana is still illegal federally. It is classified as a Schedule I drug, meaning that it has, this is according to the government, no currently accepted medical use and a high potential for abuse. Again, that's according to the US federal government, not according to me. So please be aware of that before you make any decisions. And yet, even though it's still illegal federally, Americans are buying cannabis and they're buying cannabis products. In fact, they're buying it more than a lot of consumer products in stores right now on the shelves. Check out the legal, this is according to Statista and Marijuana Business Daily. Legal marijuana sales in terms of dollar amount absolutely dwarf Dasani water sales, DiGiorno pizza, Girl Scout cookies, Oreo cookies, Pringles, Nabisco, Wheat Thins, Twizzlers. It's not even close. Legal marijuana sales are much greater. And so if you're investing in blue chip stocks for these type of companies, and you think you've got something bigger than marijuana sales, check again, think again. The US marijuana market, the grass is truly getting greener. This is according to Statista. Projected growth of both adult recreational and medical marijuana sales in billions of US dollars. It's just going to go up and up and up into the tens of billions actually for both medical and recreational use. It's growing. And don't forget about sales of vapes, vaporizers, accessories, etc. That's a huge market too. According to Wells Fargo Securities Research, forecast of sales of vaporizers and accessories projected to just go up into the tens of billions of dollars through 2022 at least. And I can extrapolate, in my mind at least, that I project it's probably going to go higher. And of course, there's money being made from tax revenues. So governments, I believe this is a big incentive for governments to legalize, state governments as well as federal. Last year, cannabis tax revenues in adult use states ran into the tens of billions for Oregon, Nevada, and even in Alaska, and even the hundreds of billions of dollars of tax revenues in Washington, Colorado, California, where it's legal. Again, it's not legal federally, but it's legalized according to the laws of those states. And those governments are collecting much needed tax revenues that they can spend on infrastructure, education, healthcare, whatever it is they like. And large corporations are getting in, they're investing. Big, reputable, trusted brand name companies are starting to believe that cannabis is here to stay. Several companies, including Marlboro cigarette maker Altria, Anheuser-Busch InBev, the Budweiser company, Molson Coors Brewing, and Constellation Brands, those are big beer companies, have made major financial investments in cannabis companies. These companies, which have a combined market cap of nearly $300 billion between these companies, are successful, sophisticated organizations and expert allocators of capital. They see opportunity for investment gains. So the question is, how to allocate your capital, which I cannot tell you what to do or what not to do, but it's a question you have to ask yourself. How much are you going to invest in US versus Canadian cannabis stocks? Well, rule number one is please keep your total position sizing in the cannabis sector small relative to your total portfolio. Remember, this is a speculative and volatile industry. It's a mover. It can move down and it can move up. It can move up big time. All right, but please keep your position sizes reasonable, because check out the volatility, okay? This is going back to 2014 and 15. I know it's a while back, but the volatility in green of the NASDAQ and the S&P 500, and then compare it to the volatility in those years of marijuana stocks in orange. Big downs and big ups as well. So please be aware of the risks involved and the volatility before you invest. Very important. For example, here's a GWPH, GW Pharmaceuticals, just as an example. Big ups, big downs as well. It did recover though. But but you could also see the tremendous possible gains as well. But the question remains, again, how to allocate your capital, how much to invest in US, Canada, and elsewhere. That's the big question, right? Personally, I like to diversify. When I choose to invest, I tend to invest in a mix of US and Canadian cannabis stocks. So I like a mix. However, it's not an equal allocation, at least for me, because marijuana is still federally considered illegal across the United States. I will usually tend to favor Canadian over US cannabis stocks. So I might invest in both, but I'm aware of the laws, okay? It's still not legalized yet federally for America. In order to have a relatively safe cannabis stock allocation, I diversified not only geographically, Canada and US and elsewhere, as we'll see in a moment, but also across multiple subsectors of the cannabis industry. And I'm going to tell you how you might be able to do that later in this presentation. Plus, there is an emerging global market. Europe, Latin America, the Asian Pacific region. It's not only in Canada and the United States. You need to be aware of this. This is important, okay? Because think about it. Imagine being able to turn back the clock to 2013 in America or in Canada and being able to invest back then in cannabis. You'd probably have a fortune right now, right? Well, you can actually, in a way, you can turn back the clock, sort of, by investing in Europe, which is in the same state that Canada and the United States were years ago. That's where they are now. They're in the beginning stages. And so a company I'd like to recommend for that is called ICC, International Cannabis Corp. And I'll give you the ticker symbols for that one. On the CSE Canadian Exchange, its ticker symbol is WRLD.U. And on the American OTC markets, it is WLDCF for International Cannabis Corp. That's a stock that I like personally because they already have licenses and distribution networks in these regions: Europe, Latin America, Asia Pacific. Regions wherever it's legal in those regions, they already have the licenses, they have the connections, the distribution networks. So they're very early in that space. And so that's, in my opinion, a great way to get into that. And so that's ICC, International Cannabis Corp. And as you can see from the statistics here, tens of thousands of grams of cannabis being imported over the next 3 years, 19 licenses for cultivation spanning 4 continents, 50,000 kilograms of CBD cannabidiol isolate in 2019 estimated. So some pretty big numbers there, representing over 39,000 pharmacies, 110 clients in 16 countries. So this is a company that delivers tens of thousands of kilograms of cannabis product worldwide. Again, that's ICC, International Cannabis Corp. On the CSE Canadian Exchange, WRLD.U. On the American OTC markets, WLDCF. And if you have more questions about that, you can email me. And there's also a free report. For more information on this globally diversified cannabis company, you can download an exclusive report today. And this is free of charge. You can go to wealthresearchgroup.com/legal 2019. wealthresearchgroup.com/legal 2019. And I'll leave that on the screen just for a moment. So feel free to check that out. And you could also email me for questions, davidmodel@gmail.com. But yeah, by all means, check out this report. I'll give this web address again towards the end. Or you can always email me in case you missed it. And it's important to remember, I never recommend putting your life savings into cannabis stocks. Don't do that, please. It's smart to keep your position sizes reasonable and never invest money that you might need to use in the future. I cannot tell you what to do or what not to do with your money, but I truly believe that this is important. And remember, price is important. Do not chase the price action. No chasing allowed, okay? I believe in buying at reasonable valuations, and that's why I mentioned ICC, International Cannabis Corp. It's very reasonably priced right now. In fact, I would say it's undervalued. All right, so I don't believe in chasing price action and buying something after everybody else already has bought it. That's not how I make money. And again, I'll show you that GWPH chart again, just as an example. GWPH chasers got punished, if they bought up here. I mean, they made their money back after a while, but still, that's not the way to go to buy up here. Value investors did just fine if they knew to take profits. So even if you bought not at the perfect time, let's say, if you bought when it was a value down here, you did great. Even if you bought, here or here, you still did fine, okay? Even if you bought not at the, okay, so it went down, even if you bought here and then suffered some drawdowns, you still did okay if you just held on. At least you didn't buy at the top, which I don't recommend. Now, most people are focused solely on licensed producers or cultivators, and that's fine, that's important. But those are the companies that people talk about all the time, the producers, the cultivators. But there are also other subsectors. Remember, I talked about diversifying by subsector as well as geographically. So there are other subsectors of the cannabis industry, including providers of growing aids, hydroponic equipment, lights, soil, fertilizers, etc. Providers of accessories for smoking, vaping, ingesting, etc. You got your drug developers, your biotechs, pharmaceutical companies, companies that invest in other cannabis companies, cannabis consulting companies, cannabis media companies, cannabis real estate companies, cannabis ag tech or agricultural technology companies, cryptocurrency and blockchain companies related to the cannabis sector. There's so many ways to get into this space. And I believe in, you don't have to just go into one area. You can diversify by subsector. For me, staying safe in my cannabis stock investments means being very selective about what I invest in. So be picky, do your research. I only invest in companies that meet certain criteria. Like I mentioned, ICC, International Cannabis Corp, meets these criteria. And there's some others that do as well. So how do you evaluate cannabis companies? This is a list of my personal criteria. It includes the following. I ask myself, if the company produces cannabis, is it a government licensed producer? That's important. Do they have great visionary leadership and a strong team? Do they have plenty of available capital and not too much debt? So we're looking at the balance sheet. Are they consistently profitable? Or in the case of newer companies, do they at least have a strong prospect of being consistently profitable? Because newer companies might not be profitable in the first year necessarily. They might have a 3-year plan, a 5-year plan for profits. That could be okay as long as I'm looking at the financials and they're strong and have strong prospects of becoming profitable soon. Is there sufficient trading volume? You don't want something so thinly traded that only has, 10 shares traded per day. Okay. All right. Yeah, you want something higher than that for sure. We talked about this. Make sure the price hasn't already run up too much. We're not chasing the price. All right. We're buying when the valuations are reasonable. For smaller companies, I ask myself, is it a potential buyout target or takeover target? For larger companies, is it a leader in its subsector of the industry? These are all things I look for. Super important. So here's a quiz question. Can you guess which US state was the first one to legally ban marijuana use? I'll give you a second for that one to think about that. All right, here comes the answer. The answer is California. I'll bet you didn't expect that one. On August 10, way back in 1913, when a new regulation quietly took effect from the State Board of Pharmacy that added, quote, loco weed to the State Poison Act. Amazing, huh? What a long way California has come. Pretty incredible. But yeah, over 80 years of prohibition, we've come a long way. And finally, while you must make your own decisions regarding what you choose to invest in, here are some of the stocks, and I'll give you one ETF or exchange traded fund on my watch list, because people are always asking me, what's on my personal watch list? So here we go. We'll start with the ETF, the Horizons Marijuana Life Sciences Index ETF, or Exchange Traded Fund. And in case you don't know, an ETF or Exchange Traded Fund trades a lot like a mutual fund. It's a basket of stocks, okay? Now, some ETFs represent commodities, some represent a basket of stocks or companies, but I like them better than mutual funds because you can trade ETFs like a stock. You can trade them at any time during the trading day. All right, so the ticker symbol on the TSX Canadian Exchange for this one is HMMJ, and in America on the OTC markets, it is HMLSF. And a lot of the companies I'm mentioning today are tradable by a number of brokers. People ask me that a lot, which brokers? I'm not going to recommend any particular broker, but just do a Google search for brokers in America or in Canada, wherever you are, and that's why a lot of these have more than one ticker symbol, one for Canadian exchanges and one for American exchanges. And if you're in other countries, check with your local brokers and local laws to decide whether you're able to trade these. So HMMJ, the first and most heavily traded cannabis ETF. There's another one now called MJ, which is the Alternative Harvest ETF, ticker symbol MJ in America. But that one, people ask me about that one sometimes. The MJ or Alternative Harvest ETF is not, in my opinion, as pure of a pot stock play because it also has tobacco stocks, tobacco companies in there as well. So if you're looking for, and it does not have as many companies in their holdings, and so, or not holdings, but in their in their list of stocks. So if you want more diversification in terms of more companies on the list, and this one's been around longer, and it's more of a pure, in my opinion, cannabis play. So the first and most heavily traded cannabis ETF, over 50 holdings in the ETF. It includes the top names: Canopy Growth Corp, Afria, Aurora, Emblem, Emerald, Organogram, MedRelief, Invictus MD, and so on. Mostly Canadian companies, and I'm going to show you that on the next slide in a chart. It's a good way to get some diversification. The problem is there's no flexibility. You have to own all the holdings on the list there. You can't just divide them up if you're going to buy HMMJ or HMLSF. You either take them all or none. And so you might prefer to build your own ETF instead by just buying individual stocks, which is a strategy that I like to do. Or you can own some of the Horizons ETF and some individual stocks as well. That's another way to do it. That's actually not a bad way to go. And so as you can see, it's very Canadian dominated, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And if you're interested in getting more US stocks than Canadian, then this may not be the way to go. Or maybe, maybe accumulate shares of HMMJ or HMLSF and then buy some Canadian stocks, get some Europe exposure through ICC, as I mentioned before, and so on. All right, so here's some more on my watch list, some individual names: Canopy Growth Corp. And again, as before, I'm putting the Canadian ticker symbol, if there is one, and then the American version, if there is one. Actually, this one is the other way around. The American ticker symbol is CGC. In Canada, WEED, W-E-E-D, the biggest cannabis company in the world, Canopy Growth Corp, a licensed producer with massive growing facilities. You're basically buying a blue chip stock if you buy this one. Also on my watch list is Aurora Cannabis Inc., ACB, both in Canada and the United States, the second biggest cannabis company, another licensed producer with huge state-of-the-art growing facilities. And they acquired Cannamid Therapeutics. GWPH, we looked at that one before on the NASDAQ in America. GW is GWPH. GW Pharmaceuticals, very successful US biopharmaceutical company with plenty of cannabinoid-based products in the pipeline. We talked about diversifying by subsectors, and we mentioned, biopharmaceutical companies. This could be one you might be interested in. And here's another one in that same subsector, Cara Therapeutics Inc. On the NASDAQ in America, CARA is the ticker symbol, another large US biopharmaceutical company with promising drugs in the clinical trial phase to help alleviate pain. Aphria, APHA, is a ticker symbol in America and Canada. This Canadian licensed producer is too big to ignore. They legally produce massive amounts of cannabis, and they acquired Nuvera. Hemp Inc., available on the American OTC market, ticker symbol HEMP, HEMP. This diverse U.S. company produces industrial hemp products, offers products and services to the medical and recreational marijuana industries, and provides entertainment and news on the web related to the medical marijuana industry. That's Hemp Inc. Agritech Holdings Inc., ticker symbol in America on the OTC markets, AGTK, a U.S. company involved in the acquisition and leasing of cannabis-related real estate properties. Also offers compliance consulting and distributes hemp-based nutritional products, among other pursuits. Hydropothecary Corp., and that is THCX in Canada, HYYDF in America. A Quebec-based company involved in medical cannabis production, but which also offers extracts, oils, and powders. Cannabis Wheaton Income Corp., CBW in Canada, CBWTF in America on the OTC markets, a royalty and streaming company that provides capital financing to cannabis companies so that they can expand their capacity or their product lines. Invictus MD, also on my watch list. Gene, Gene, ticker symbol in Canada, IVITF in the United States OTC markets. Canadian company that provides cannabis products for medical and recreational use. This company also produces and sells fertilizers and nutrients. Again, we talked about diversifying by subsector, and that's a possible way to do that. Give you a few more. Organogram Holdings Inc., OGI in Canada, OGRMF in America. Through a number of subsidiaries, this company produces and sells medical marijuana and offers a variety of marijuana plants, seeds, cuttings, cannabis oil, and dried flowers. MedRelief Corp., Leaf, LEAF in Canada, MEDFF in the United States, specializes in cannabis oil and extracts, also offers various accessories, including grinders, vaporizers, and lockable containers. So really getting diversification with many of these companies. And once again, for diversification into Europe and globally. I mentioned before, not only Europe, but Asia Pacific, Latin America. Check out ICC International Cannabis Corp. On the CSE Canadian Exchange. Ticker symbol is WRLD.U. In the United States, on the OTC markets, ticker symbol is WLDCF. I like this one a lot. And you can get the full report on this company. Will not charge you for this one. Okay, free of charge, full report, just go to wealthresearchgroup.com/legal 2019, LEGAL 2019. Wealthresearchgroup.com/legal 2019. I'll leave that up on the screen for a moment. And that's a free report, which you can download. You just put in your email address at that web page and they'll send it right out to you. And you can learn more about the company because research is key in this game. And here are some others. I'll just give you some other ones on my watch list at various times. This is not a complete list. Medical Marijuana Inc., MJNA on the American OTC markets. Emerald Health Therapeutics Inc., EMH in Canada, EMHTF in the United States. Insys Therapeutics Inc., ticker symbol INSY on the American NASDAQ exchange. Kronos Group Inc., in Canada, TSX Exchange, Cron, CRON, and also CRON in America on the NASDAQ exchange. New Strike Resources Ltd., HIP, HIP in Canada and in the United States, NWKRF. Tilray, that's one of the bigger ones, although it has not been around as long as some of the bigger players like Canopy Growth Corp. But it is one of the, it's a pretty big company now. Tilray, TLRY, is the ticker symbol in America. And finally, Abcan Global Corp, ABCN in Canada, ABCCF in the United States. And we're going to start to wrap it up here. So I'll give you a recap. Proper position sizing is rule number one. We talked about it. We're not putting our life savings into one stock or one sector. Diversify, not only geographically, but across subsectors within the industry. That's what I do. I'm getting into the European markets. I'm getting into the Canadian markets. I'm getting into the United States markets, as well as multiple subsectors within those geographic regions. Be selective, have specific criteria for choosing companies, like the criteria I showed you today. I'm always checking those before I make any investment, and other criteria as well. Don't chase the price action of the stock. You're not buying something when it's way, way, way high, when the price of the stock is greater than it ought to be, okay? You're looking for undervalued, under the radar opportunities. You're not buying something just because the news media is hyping it up. Okay, you're buying something because you believe in the company. If you've researched it and you believe that it's properly priced. And have mentors, but make the final decisions yourself and take charge of your finances. And I hope I've helped you to do that today. So what are the next steps? Well, you want to form a plan for your trading or your investing. You want to learn to select the right stocks for your portfolio. You want to identify entry and exit points for your trades. Minimize risk and maximize your potential. Now, I can help you do that. Again, if you have a mentor and a roadmap, a plan for where you're going, then your chances of success, I believe, personally, are going to be much greater. So you can contact me by email, davidmoadel@gmail.com. I do offer coaching. I help people put together trading or investing plans, whether it's for cannabis stocks or other stocks. It doesn't even have to be stocks. I also coach people on options trading. I coach people on commodities trading, cryptocurrencies. Okay, and I also have a YouTube channel. You could just type David Moadel into YouTube, and I've got literally hundreds of videos on commodities, cryptocurrencies, stocks, options, and plenty of cannabis stock videos for you to watch. I have a playlist full of cannabis stock videos, all right? And so if you have more questions, if you want me to go over something, because I know I went quickly through this, you can contact me at davidmoadel@gmail.com. Thank you so much for watching and listening. I really appreciate it today. And so if there's time left, what I'm going to do is check to see if anybody has any questions. And I want to thank Traders Talk Live, and they posted to the entire audience. Yes, wealthresearchgroup.com/legal2019. So if anybody has any questions for me, I'm checking the chat right now. And I don't want to take up too much time. I know it's getting closer to 1 o'clock. But I really appreciate it. Once again, I want to thank Traders Talk Live. And I want you guys to stick around. We have more speakers coming. Great speakers, all kinds of topics that you can learn about, because it's a big market out there. Over 5,000 stocks on the New York Stock Exchange alone. It's pretty amazing. So thank you once again. And I'm just going to go back to that page with the link there, in case anybody missed that one. I'll leave it for a minute before I sign out. So once again, wealthresearchgroup.com/legal 2019. And again, my name is David Moadel. So all you have to do, if you want to check out all my videos, go to YouTube, type in David Moadel, M-O-A-D-E-L, and it'll be easy from there to find my channel and all the videos. I've got videos on, man, almost every topic in finance imaginable. That's why I called it Looking at the Markets, because it's about all the markets. Technical indicators, if you're into that, MACD, stochastics, RSI, all those things, as well as fundamental research. I believe in researching both fundamentals and technicals. So again, I'm gonna sign off now, and I wanna thank Traders Talk Live. Don't go away, folks. Stick around for more presentations coming up. You're gonna enjoy them.